Welcome to Rural Route Homestead. We are outside with the bottle babies and we are going to try to weigh them, see if they're at a good weaning weight yet. Come on, baby.
And enter Michael.
Okay. So
Yeah.
and then you pick them up, read this weight.
Yeah. Oop.
Oh.
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Try again. 26 and a half.
Look at you go, big girl.
Gimli. Okay. 30. 26 and a half and 30. She was 23 or 24
okay.
before last time. Oh,
What?
I'll cut that out. Okay, so May is 26 and a half pounds and Gimli is 30 pounds. They're not quite at weaning weight yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. Hi everyone. I thought today we would talk about some things that we use for our goats, why we use them, what we have that we don't really use anymore, what we've recently started using. So let's go. I have some notes. So in 2022, we had a pretty bad drought in Oklahoma, and that caused us to change a lot of things about how we are taking care of our goats. For one, we implemented rotational grazing, and this will be the first full year of rotational grazing for us. Another thing that happened was we noticed that their coats were starting to look scruffy. We have never used copper boluses before the last few months, but I think the drought affected things in ways we didn't anticipate. So one thing that we just recently started using are copper boluses. And let me just say, talk to your vet. I am not a vet. We always consult our vet and do your own research. But for now, we are using copper boluses, and I have noticed an improvement in our goats' coats and things like that. Two things that we used to use were Jumpstart, which is a probiotic supplement. The goats really like it. Apparently it tastes good. And a B complex injection for any goat that looks just not quite up to par. So we would use these two things, and that usually did the trick, and they were fine. What we recently found is a vitamin B complex. So it has B1, which is thiamine, and B12. Thiamine is very important to goats. So is B12. So this is a vitamin B complex oral gel with probiotics. This takes the place of the Jumpstart and the B complex injection. So we just have to use one. It's oral. I don't have to give a shot, and they do great with it. Another thing that we have on hand, we've only ever used on one goat, and that is CMPK, and that stands for calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and potassium. And this is the oral solution, and this is also oral, but it's in a tube. We had a goat who was an excellent dairy goat. However, the problem was she made so much milk that her body just began to deteriorate. She is retired now. We dried her up. It took almost 2 months of working with our vet to get her dried up, because it didn't matter what she ate, she turned it into milk. And you can't just stop milking altogether. So we would just take enough milk each day to relieve some pressure on her udder, continue feeding her and supplementing her. And like I said, it took almost 2 months working with our vet to get her dried up. Okay, so the other thing that we used to use is bloat treatment. We still have it just in case, but now what we use is just baking soda. I put baking soda out, free choice, and that usually takes care of it. We have only had to use this on 2 goats, but it was at the same time. Okay, this is a liquid B12 for sheep and goats. I bought this. We have never even opened it because we use the B complex. That's much better because it has the thiamine in it. For breeding does, bucks, during breeding, when you're going to breed them, and then right before a doe kids, and sometimes for the babies, if they seem a little weak after they're born, we use selenium with vitamin E gel. I did discuss this with our vet. I asked her if we were in an area that is selenium deficient soil. She said we're right on the edge. So we do this just in case. Something new that we've had to use over the past several months. This is curacin, and it is a spray for pink eye. We have never had pink eye in our herd before this year, and we have talked to several other people in our area. They've been dealing with pink eye as well. We are still fighting the last bit of pink eye, even in January 2024. So if I see a goat with a watery eye, or if the eyelid, I can see that the eyelid is really red, I spray them immediately. I'm trying to nip it in the bud, get it completely out of our herd. The other day, I got Vetricin, I believe that's how you pronounce it, antimicrobial pink eye spray. We have not used this yet because we still have Vetricin, but until we get more of this, if we need to, we can use this and compare how the two work. So in the past, we had bought in some goats that were very wormy, and we lost one of them, and the other one, we treated him with dewormer, and then we used red cell. And this is a supplement with iron, because when the goats are wormy, they are losing blood. The worms are taking their nutrients, and they need to regenerate some of that. So sometimes they need an iron supplement until their body adjusts and starts ruminating well again, and all the things it takes to keep them healthy. For deworming, what we like to use is let them eat oak leaves. We have about 12 acres fenced in that is oak and hickory and a few other trees, but it is mainly oak, and that, from my research, is the best natural dewormer anywhere. Even if I have to go cut down some saplings, I want them eating lots of oak leaves. When our goats have plenty of oak leaves, we have had them fecal tested by our vet, and she did tell us that we have one of the lowest parasite loads in goats that she's tested in this area. If we bring in a new goat that is already on a schedule of chemical dewormers, then what we're gonna do is worm them with chemical dewormers, and then we're gonna get them on leaves as soon as possible. Another thing is pumpkin seeds. Also, if you're using the copper bolus, they are likely going to have plenty of copper in their system to help them fight off the worm and parasites in the beginning. So copper bolus, oak leaves, pumpkin seeds. So if we give a chemical dewormer, what we've used in the past is ivermectin injection and oral safeguard. I don't like giving shots. I just don't like it. I hate it. So I saw a lady on a video using oral ivermectin for her goats. That's what we're going to do from now on. I did the research. It is okay to give them oral ivermectin from what I found. You're going to have to do your own research. So we're going to use the oral ivermectin and continue to use the oral safeguard. If we have a goat that is just super wormy, we will give both at the same time. And then we will follow that up with the B complex with probiotics, because they're going to have to get their rumen just really going good. For antibiotics, if one of our goats acts in a way that we think it needs antibiotics, our first go-to is garlic, followed by oregano. I have made little garlic treats for them with peanut butter and oats and maybe a little molasses, and some ginger actually too, powdered ginger. They love it. So if it's something that can be treated naturally, that is what we prefer. If they do have to have a prescription antibiotic, then what we're going to use is LA 300, and it is an injection. In the past, we've used LA 200 because that's what was available, but we now have LA 300. It is thinner, so it's not as painful. The LA 200 is very thick, and it stings. For the injections, we have several different gauges of needles. We have 20 gauge, 16 gauge, and 22 gauge. 22 gauge is what we used for the LA 200 because it goes in faster and it's not as uncomfortable for the animal. We also use a filler needle so we don't dull the needle that we're actually going to give the shot with. We have cotton swabs to wipe the top of the bottle before we inject the filler needle, and just to keep everything sanitary. And then we have syringes. As far as syringe type things, you can buy a commercial drench gun. We don't have one. I made one out of a large syringe that we have and a piece of clear tubing. We use this if we need to give the animal something liquid like the CMPK, which we haven't used in a while. Okay, so another thing that we use is molasses. When it's super cold, like the Arctic blast that we just had, after a doe has kidded, we put some molasses in a bucket of warm water. It gives them a little bit of energy, and they love it. I also use this in the treats that I make with peanut butter and garlic and ginger and oats. One of the things that we use during milking time is coconut oil. This is a lotion that I made. I use this on my hands. But plain coconut oil is wonderful. I keep it in the milking shed, and you can put it on your hands, and then you're not causing rawness or dryness to the teats. And if a baby has nicked a teat or there's any type of soreness or chapping on the teats, coconut oil is what I use. This little container I usually have sulfur powder in. We use sulfur powder for several different things. One, I keep it out free choice during fly season. We also have a sulfur block. It's a salt block basically, but there's sulfur added to it. So the goats can just lick on that whenever they feel like they need it, and it really does help. So we also use sulfur on the goats themselves if the flies are really bad, and it will repel flies and gnats and little flying stinging things. It'll also help them keep from getting any mites or lice, because in our wooded area there are deer that go through, And goats, I believe, if I remember correctly, can get deer lice. So we do not have a well, we have city water. And when you have city water, it is chlorinated. So one of the things that's very important for our goats is iodine, because the chlorine in the water can deplete their supplies of iodine and other things. So what we do for that is we have Redmond's agricultural salt. It is Redmond's Natural Trace Mineral Salt. Number 10 fine is what we use. And it has, among other things, iodine as a mineral in the natural salt. Another thing that we keep out for iodine is kelp. And we get it from Azure Standard, and we keep it out free choice. It doesn't change the taste of the milk, and they love it. The Redmond's salt also has copper in it, which they need. So for my milkers, we buy what's called a quarter mix, and we fill our bulk feeder with that. And that's what everyone generally eats when we have to feed grains. For my milkers, though, I have barley. Now you can get barley at most feed stores. You can get it through Azure Standard as animal feed, and probably some other places. So I have whole barley, and I soak it in a little bit of apple cider vinegar and filtered water. And the apple cider vinegar is going to provide them potassium. The barley is going to give them thiamine. About hoof trimming. We have hoof trimmers. How often you trim hooves is going to depend a lot on the breed of your goat, if they have access to rocks and a rocky place to jump around on, because that will help with keeping their hooves in shape. So, and I just got a new pair of hoof trimmers because I've had these for several years. I put our goats in the milking stand, trim their hooves, but there are lots of videos on how to do that. Okay, so if I do nick the foot in a way that there's pink, or even if there's like a drop of blood coming out, which has happened to me twice. So what I do is use iodine, liquid iodine, squirt it on the foot, and then I set their foot down. I take this lid off. This is baking soda. After I squirt the iodine on it, I put their foot in the baking soda. That's gonna help stop the bleeding. This is gonna disinfect. For my milkers, I have this, but I've never used it. This is a tray and a liquid that you can test for mastitis. Now, if you've been milking for a while, you're probably very aware of differences in udders, as far as texture, the feel of the udder, the temperature of the udder. If you touch an udder and it's hot to the touch, there might be a problem. So if you've been doing it for a while, you may not need this, but I have it on hand just in case I ever do. Okay, I keep prunes on hand as a treat for my girls. They love them. If I want them to do something for me, I bribe them with prunes. So it is preferable if the moms have plenty of milk and take good care of their babies. We prefer not to have bottle babies. But if that happens, and it can, we keep colostrum on hand. Now this is just the brand I have right now. We're not stuck to any certain brand of colostrum. We also keep milk replacer on hand. This is for emergency use only. If you suddenly find yourself with a bottle baby and you do not have regular milk from a doe or milk in your refrigerator from the store, that's when we use the milk replacer. So what we prefer for bottle babies is you get regular milk at the store, whole milk. It really needs to be whole milk. You pour 2 cups of milk out of the gallon. Into the gallon, you add 1 cup of cultured buttermilk, because that's going to help get their rumen started. That's very important. And then you add in 1 cup of heavy cream or a cup of evaporated milk. That's going to give them a little extra fat. What I do is a cup of cultured milk and a cup of heavy cream. I have raised bottle babies on the store-bought milk replacer before. They do not do as well, they do not grow as fast, and they never quite make it to their full potential. I'm sure there are things that I left out. If you have any questions, add them to the comments below. I will try to answer them as quickly as possible. I have to go take care of some goats. So this is Dream. She's gonna be our next goat to kid, and she's just not keeping her condition as well as I would like, so I'm gonna give her a few supplements. This is a Fig Newton with copper bolus in it. Oh. This is selenium with vitamin E. And this is the B complex with probiotics. They usually really like this one. We'll see. This. You like that one? So she had a little bit of a watery eye. So we've already sprayed her with the pink eye treatment just in case. And she should be fine now. Since I bored myself nearly to tears editing that video, let's go look at some baby goats. Hi, little girl. Hi. How are you doing, Mommy? You doing okay? Hi, baby. Hi. Hi. Okay. See y'all next time.